as the so focusing primarily on disabilities across all factors, and on the housing side of it, if you can talk a bit more on the service model of housing, and then what's the service design and how do you engage, and what's the size of houses do you go for? Typically, it's a group homes or a smaller size. So talk a bit more on housing service.
Sure. So most of the tenants that we support are living in what would be called group homes. So homes with an average of 4 or 5 tenants in. There's a couple with a few more than that, but that tends to be the average. But that model is reducing over time. Like the rest of the sector, the people that we serve are voting with their feet and choosing alternative accommodation. That doesn't mean that everybody in a group home wants to go and live in an individual apartment, but I think people with disabilities who've been living in large shared accommodation are much more aware these days, and increasingly aware still, of the choices they've got in terms of accommodation. And there's a number of things required for them to kind of exercise that choice. But we are enjoying evolving our models. So while I said the majority of people still live in group homes, increasingly we have individual apartments, we have smaller standalone duplex accommodation, and we provide supports into people's own private accommodation as well. So our models are diversifying as people with disability are exercising more choice about where they live. And we're keen to work with the NDIA and other providers and the people we serve to try to accelerate that process so that people do get to exercise full choice about where they live.
And in terms of the varieties, and you talked about group homes, would you have SDA property in your portfolio? And are you in terms of the viewpoint, because people have stance on whether SDA works for them as an organization or a policy view on SDA?
Sure. So about a third of the homes in which we provide support are owned by us, and we are the SDA provider. Our view, as I think it's the view across the sector, is that we are primarily a support provider. I don't think we want to remain being the landlord for any of the properties in which we provide support. That's a legacy in which Urella has for a long time held those properties, and there's a process to work through with the tenants in those properties to find the right future state. There's not necessarily a quick solution for that. We have approached some housing providers and said, are you interested in taking over some of the SDA properties we've got? They're not necessarily attractive in their current form. Therefore, it would require a fair bit of disruption for some of the tenants that are there in order to, for example, renovate or replace those properties and possibly for the tenants to have to relocate. If they're up for that, we're up for that. And as I say, we have a longer term view that ultimately we are a support provider, not a landlord. So I don't think SDA will remain in our portfolio forever. But it's there for now, and we'll work with the tenants we've got to try and get the best outcomes.
I think it's glad to know that you have a strategy of the way you want to, stay away from any apparent conflicts, or it's very real value-driven decision making.